Welcome to the kill zone.
I feel the silence chasing me. Shadows follow me everywhere I go. Danger's near, I can feel it.
Say my name, feel that flame. Welcome to the kill zone. Welcome to the kill zone.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Monday night. Tonight, we give you the coverage of the Lonestar NASCAR iRacing Series presented by DadBod.Studios. Tonight, it's race number 9 and kind of a fun one. It's a one-off race of the road course side, the one and only time we're going to be seeing these drivers going left and right. And we're going to be here at the Super Speedway of road courses at Watkins Glen. These drivers are ready for all the racing action for the Bog 147 at the Glen. And we're happy to give you all the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me as always on Monday nights is Zach Hall. And Zach got a week off from our Charlotte race where we got to see Mike Fahey get his first win of the season. But tonight, the drivers get to test their skills road course racing, and certainly has been an interesting looking point of drivers on who really put the most testing into road course racing and who's just showing up for fun.
No doubt, Sam. Yeah, this is Sorry about that, guys. Have a little mic trouble there, but yeah, definitely going to be a fun night of racing here with the one-off, a series here kind of deal with the road course being the only race here this season during this season. So these drivers are going to have a tough time tackling this track too, because man, I tell you what, this Gen 6 car is just so unpredictable sometimes, but also so powerful and so low grip when it comes to the exit of these corners. And I think you're going to see a lot of people really thinking about how can they manage the rear tires the best way here around the East track, and it's really going to come down to that right foot leaving out of these corners with all that horsepower.
And with a lot of unknowns out there, we want to have an absolute. So we changed the rules up a little bit. Traditionally, we go into these races unknowing where the grid will be. Drivers are randomly selected on where they'll be starting. Tonight, we're going to have our one and only qualifying for the season. So that's going to be another fun thing to watch. Drivers are going to have 10 minutes to put down their fastest lap time, but only 2 laps to do so. Once practice comes to an end, we got about a minute left in practice before we get to that qualifying session. And currently, it's one of the debut drivers, top of the board. It's Greg Watkins, who's going to be top of the board for the 5 machine. Second driver who's coming back, missed Charlotte, our last race, but is hoping to make a statement here tonight to shoot right back up to the top of the point standings. That's going to be Colin Clary, who's going to be currently second on the board, but right behind him is going to be Drew Blaze, second in points. And then the driver who will have to start at the end of the line with a NeoL, Austin Meese, top of the points leaderboard. Zach, this 97's been the driver to watch out for.
That's for sure. Austin Meese is really coming to his own these last few races, and it's really worked out for him, gaining those points each and every week. So we'll see what he can do with the EOL starting from the back, and how will he tackle this road course. Right now, 4 fastest on the board out there, so showing Arya a little bit of speed. We'll see if he can figure out something else, because I can tell you the one thing with this race car, we can look at the lap times right now, but it's going to really take, I think, a driver who can manage the tires tonight to put it all together, so to say. So I think if you're someone who's just relying on quick speed, it's not going to be everything here. But what it will help you with is this next session as we head into qualifying.
Qualifying about to begin, practice just finishing up, and the drivers, they are knocking off the rust. We're knocking off the rust as well after taking a week off, and it's about to be a race time. First thing in the books, we got to worry about qualifying. Again, if you're just joining us, qualifying going to be 10 minutes to put down your fastest lap time, but only 2 laps to do so. You find yourself grazing the grass, going a little bit too far off track. You can get an incident point, and that incident point will negate and invalidate your lap time. You don't want to do that, especially if you're one of these faster drivers. You're hoping to put a decent time that's going to put you up front, but Zach, it's so easy, especially here at Watkins Glen, to make that mistake.
It definitely is. You got to really know the track limits, because that is the one key, to use all the track. But if you get too much here on this qualifying lap, you can get an off track still, and you got to really be careful for that. As you see right now, we're watching the 9 machine come down here. This is Alex Duchesne, and you got to really be careful through this section right here to not clip too much of those corners, because if you stick a tire off into that grass, you can get that 1X. But you're going to see a lot of drivers also use a lot of the racetrack here. There's so much runoff. Look at the 9 here, all the way out there. None of that is going to be 0X territory. You just got to get back onto the surface there before that grass, and that is going to be a critical phase for trying to do that. So as he heads down to the final 2 corners here to set up his qualifying lap, we'll see what he can put together. I'd imagine first lap is going to be what you want to do.
These drivers hoping to maximize their speed. You also want to make sure you got enough heat in your tires. Seeing the wiggle off the exit of the corner already. Duchesne is putting down the power, trying to maximize the speed on the straightaway, entering into turn 1. This can already make or break your qualifying. Going extremely wide as this 9 machine. That's a little bit dangerous. Don't want to go too far out there, otherwise you can get that instant point and will take away your lap time. But going up through the S's, down into the back stretch, heading down to the bus stop. And Zach, this is another technical area that you can lose and gain a lot of time.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, definitely a technical spot here. You're going to want to get slowed down and try to clip that as much of that inside curb as possible. And does a pretty good job there on Duchesne getting through this whole section as he comes here to the carousel now. Got to keep it nice and tidy here, and then just unwound the wheel here right on the exit to carry all this speed here onto this, just flat out onto that exit of the racetrack. That's such a key spot to gain time compared to back in the day where that used to be grass. Now he heads down to the final 2 corners. You got this left-hander It's very critical to not get too far to the right, so you can have a really good entry here into this final right-hander to finish off the lap, and we'll see what the 9 is able to put down.
Lap number 1 for Duchesne. We'll see where he's going to be placing himself. There's also about 5 to 10 other drivers out there on track, hoping that this first lap is the money lap. A 1:13.1, a good time for the 9, but it's a 1:10.9.61 by Colin Clary, and that is a brilliant starting lap for the 7. That's going to be the time to beat. I mean, there's only one driver really to watch out for, and that could be the 5 machine. Our newcomer debut of Greg Watkins, who's out on their first lap trying to set the tone.
We'll see how that works out. Here's the 45 of Mike Fahey. He's shown a lot of speed at the other tracks this season. We'll see what his prowess is on a road course tonight as he goes up through the S's, heading down to the bus stop chicane. Is now Drew Blaze. He's going to flash up to the second on the scoreboard there in that 88 machine, but about 6/10 off our leader, Colin Clary. So great lap still from that 7 machine. First driver to drop into the 110s. We'll see if anybody can join him here in this session as Fahey finds his way through the carousel down to the back straightaway.
Mike Fahey's first lap time, good enough for 4th currently with a 1:12.911. Going to fall down into 5th position as Austin Meeks now going to be in 3rd after their first lap time and getting into the 1:11s. That seems to be a good range to set the tone for yourself if you're looking for a good time. As Colin's second lap going to be a 1:11.5. Would have been good enough for 2nd, but that first lap was the money lap. A 1:10.9 is the pull time currently for the 7 machine. Mike Fahey crossed the line, going to be a little bit faster now, back up into 5th position. But across the line, the 5 of Greg Watkins moves up into 2nd, but not fast enough for the pull time, and he will throw away his 2nd lap. It looks to be the 7, unless someone else finds the magic here in the next 5 minutes. It will all be Colin with the pole.
You're exactly right. Yeah, that's a great lap time from Colin with the hold to the top position for the time being. But Watkins, like you said, did come in there and put it up on 2nd, but it was the mistake into 1, down into 1 that really hurt his 2nd lap. Wasn't able to come around to complete another one. As we're watching now, Nicholas Donfrancesco here. The 24 in the final corner. He's going to drift a little bit here, and he's not going to be able to complete that lap. That's going to be tough for him. He's going to have to reset and get back out on the racetrack and try to put a lap down, because that was the first attempt. He should have one more at least attempt at it.
And there is plenty of time to get back out there on track. You just be quick getting back out there on course. Here's going to be James DuBose, who's open for a decent time, a 1:14.997. And for the drivers that are qualifying right now, this is just putting yourself up front. This is only 9 drivers have set a time at this current moment, and there is a good portion of drivers that I don't think are even going to qualify. There's a few drivers that are automatically going to get an EOL to start this evening off, with having incidences last race. Those drivers being Matthew Hobbs, Austin Meath, also going to be Joseph Augusta, Nicholas Danfrancesco, as well as Chris Klein, all having issues last race, were forced to the end of the line, as well as Mike Fahey with a winner EOL. Because he won last week, he will have to start at the end of the line. So there's a few drivers that
Having a few technical difficulties. We're having some technical difficulties out there, ladies and gentlemen, so just bear with us here for a moment, as I think we may have lost Sam there for a second. We'll see if we can get him back up here with us as he cut out right there mid-sentence. Right now watching the 21 of Corbin Reich there coming out of into turn 1 there to get his lap started here and see what he can do, but major mistake there down in the turn number 1. So just a tough position there to set that lap up. Is getting confirmation we did lose Sam there for a second for his internet, so we'll see if he gets back in here. But for now, it'll be just myself right now, and we'll see how the things go, folks. But bear with us for the moment, as right now, again, qualifying 2 minutes and 52 seconds to go here. Corbin Reich there, you see, going through the bus stop chicane, going to ride those curbs and really try his best to carry as much speed as possible. It was the big mistake down in the turn 1 that really hurt the lap time, I think, for this time around. But right now, even if he was to just put a lap down, he would be starting from the 10th position, and a few drivers ahead are going to be getting EOLs too, supposedly. So that will push this 21 up. So even just putting a lap down will be a huge critical moment for this team here, and we'll see how they can work together. But another big mistake here down into the final corner. That's going to almost put him into the wall, and I think luckily avoided the lap still counting, because if he would farther touch that wall, that would have gave him a incident, and that would have took the lap away. So Corbin going to jump up to 10th on the board. Now it's only a 117, but almost into the outside wall there. As you can see, these drivers really having a tough time with this low grip circuit here at Watkins Glen, New York, with this Gen 6 Cup car. These things, you can see them, little tiny spooler. When they come to these road courses, it's a low downforce package, and it was very much a handful to drive always and keep those rear tires underneath you as you go around this giant racetrack. But we'll continue to watch the 21. I mean, he's going to see if he can pick up any time off that first time around, but right now just making mistakes, and it's going to be off track there that time. And great job to gather it up as the 21 going to come back around here in the carousel. So I'm thinking we're going to see a few of these more mistakes here tonight, folks. It's really something I'm not surprised to see so far from this qualifying session, is drivers making really big mistakes, and it's so easy to do. As we'll pull Robert Moyer Jr. up here in the booth with us for a second. I think we will have Sam Dyer back, because I believe he has connected to the server, so we'll see when he's able to get everything back loaded. But Robert, what you thinking so far here tonight for some road course racing? You guys get to hear a special treat real quick from our producer.
What I think right now is I'm not good at this stuff, so bravos to them guys. But yeah, I mean, right now, from what everything's looking, it's going to be all about keeping the tires underneath you there.
It definitely is, Robert. That is the one thing, we always talk about the road courses with the next gen Cup Series car. That's a lot of what we've had here on Freaky Fast, and it's always, not really a big issue with tire wear. Yeah, it still is a factor, but it's not huge. And I will say it's going to be a factor here tonight, Robert. I'd tell you that much, because back in the day, we used to deal with that very much with this race car. Yeah. And it definitely was a tough time.
Yeah. Well, the main thing is going to be about grip and everything. But, yeah, I don't know if we got our main guy back here, Sam. I'm not sure if you're there, Sam.
We are back. We gotta love when the internet decides to just randomly cut out, and we're back.
All right. I'm going to hand it off to my guys. Have fun.
All right. Well, guys, it is certainly a pleasure when you get to see qualifying go underway. A rarity we get to see here this season for the Lonestar NASCAR iRacing Series. And here tonight, got to see a little bit of qualifying. It's going to be the few times, but the one time we get to see road course racing. So let's take a look at our starting grid here this evening for the Watkins Glen. Taking the top spot, I think with no surprise based off what we saw from practice. Colin Clary going to be the main driver of note, taking that top spot to his outside. Going to be newcomer, debut driver for Greg Wachinski. Behind them in row number 2, it's the drivers that are currently 1-2 in the point standings of Austin Meese as well as Drew Blaze. Behind them in 5th place, it's going to be Harold Crow with Mike Fahey. Fahey will have an EOL after his win last race. Alex Duchesne going to be in 7th position. 8th is James DeBose. Then in 9th, it's the 707 of David Collins. With in 10th, the 21 of Corbin Reich. And then, Zach, you've got the rest of our 20 drivers here this evening.
That we do. Starting in 11th, it's going to be the 92 of Paul Boomershine, who just looks strong on the ovals this season. We'll see how he can do here on the road course. In 12th, it's going to be alongside him. In the 10 machine, it's going to be Justin Johnson. Let's see how he can fare tonight. Is in the 13th position, Clish Klein, very quick in practice. We'll see how he can work his way up. 14th is going to be the 23 of Paul Olson, with Nicholas Donfrancesco starting in 15th here after a tough qualifying. 16th is going to go to Chris Lawless. 17th is going to be the 94 of Austin Growell. 18th is going to be the 155 of Kenneth Blackburn. 19th is going to go to Jordan Maddox. And rounding out our 20 cars here tonight at Watkins Glen, it's going to be the 85 of Alan Swan.
20 drivers going to be racing here tonight. Also, Paul Olson going to be the other driver who will have a debut race here tonight. So we got 2 new drivers this evening. Listed off again. That's Matthew Hoff, Austin Meese, Joseph Augusta, Nicholas Duchesne, Nicholas DeFrancesco, Chris Klein, and Mike Fahey all were given EOLs to start tonight's race off, as well as Justin Johnson will have a penalty to start at the end of the line. As drivers going to piece around this lap, it's going to give us time to take a look at how the point standings look entering into this evening. It's been certainly a wild change the last 3 races. It went from this is an absolute Colin Clairheat championship as long as he shows up and just performs. Dover shows around, he gets wrecked in the first handful of laps, drops the third in points, and now it's a battle of 3. It's between Austin Meese, Drew Blaze, and Colin Clairheat, but Zach, we know with there still being 7 more races counting tonight in the rest of the season, it's still wide open for a lot of drivers out there for the championship.
It really is. I mean, you look at Clary's 20 back, and the Lawless is only 24 from him, so it's about the same gap for Clary from the lead to where Lawless is there in 4th, and then Boomer Shine's not far behind that there with 2 points. So it is a very close battle when it comes to those points, and we've already saw anything can happen so far, Sam. And with Watkins Glen here tonight, anything's unpredictable.
Well, tonight's going to be our one and only road course of the season. Then we're back to our traditional oval type courses. We've got Pocono, the Turkey Triangle, then Kansas, Texas, Homestead, Bristol, Nashville, and Daytona. Texas and Daytona going to be 2 full-length races for the rest of the season. Everything else is going to be our traditional 200 or so laps going to be ran, but it certainly should be a good one here tonight. We're happy to have everyone joining with us this evening. It's going to be 60 laps in total. No stage break, no fast repairs, but all drivers will have 1 extra set of tires to work with here tonight. And after every 16th incident point, drivers will be given a drive-through penalty. No disqualifications, so you can go off the track as much as you want, but keep it to a minimum. Otherwise, you could be losing out on big time. Zach, any final thoughts before we get to racing action?
Well, Sam, I'll tell you what, it can always get tricky getting down to turn 1 here on the first lap of Watkins Glen. It's downhill, very tricky situation. And then on that first lap, too, getting into the bus stop, sometimes you got side-by-side situations. Let's see who has the give and who is taking. So it's going to be, I think, an interesting moment here on the first lap.
20 drivers expected to race here tonight, and let's see how well can they handle going left and right at the Glen. The green flag is out of the air for Colin Clairheat, and also going to be Greg watching Sky as they roar down into turn number 1. Everyone fanning out, find your position, but it's the 7 clearly gone and away. Everyone else further on back trying to find a way to stay on track. Multiple drivers going to go on the off-axis road, trying to get back in line as it squeezes into the S's, weaving left, right, up through the S's. One's already into the wall, and that's going to be Chris Launis, who has issues for the 3 as he just goes sliding, locking up the brakes into the outer barrier. He'll continue to race on, but Colin Clairheat already going to be through the bus stop, moving into the carousel. This is another tight position where drivers have to be careful, and Zach, there's plenty of smoke, and drivers are all around.
Yeah, driver off into the grass. I'm trying to figure out exactly who that is. It looks like it's going to be Alex Duchesne there in the 9, so he's getting back turned around after a good, qualifying position of 7th. He's going to be well outside that top 10 now. Going to have to be climbing his way back through, but we've already seen, problems for him. Oh, look at that, just losing on the braking. Cold tires, probably loses the rear there, and just instead of taking out the drivers ahead of him, he kind of threw himself off to the left there, and that's a really good job not to take out Harold Crow there in the 33.
That's going to be our first real big incident besides the 3 machine, as that was going to be Chris Launis, who just locks up going into the start of the bus stop. Into the S's, excuse me, but as we're right on board, get a sense of what Alex was seeing as he got to the top of the S's, got on the back stretch, throttling up, trying to find your braking marker, and that is always the point you're looking for. Where's my marker of when I want to hit the brakes? And for the 9, just completely loses the rear end.
It happens so fast, and that's a part of the track where you're some of the heaviest braking, so I'm not surprised to see that condition there. As we're going to have some side-by-side action. I think Don Francesco, the 24, and a few others with Fahey all going through the bus stop right now side-by-side, and they're trying to make it through as Klein made his way around 3 or 4 of them there, and Chris Klein really flying his way through. Like I said, was fastest practices all the 85. I think he might have got some contact from maybe the 24, or no, he just lost it by himself there, I believe, and he got into the inside wall. So that was very tough to see.
was just trying to find a way to get out of the bus stop, not able to do so cleanly. As you see, here's what the 51 dashing through on the backstretch of Chris Klein, as Clary gonna put down the fastest lap. But here's a 51, a daring diving move into the bus stop. Might have spooked Swan just a little bit here in the 85. Also saw the pressure from the 24 behind, but over the rumble strips, just completely loses the rear end into the carousel. And luckily for Mike Fahey, didn't get any deja vu from Dover a few weeks ago.
That's for sure. Yeah, definitely didn't want to take anybody with him there for Alan Swan, but luckily it wasn't the heaviest hit for him on the right side door too, so he continues on. But Fahey definitely narrowly avoided disaster there as they come up through the S's again. It looks like side by side up ahead, Klein will make the easy pass on Dubois. So Klein flying up to 7th here, really showing that 51 has a ton of speed.
A ton of speed, but it's just showing the major speed difference. There are going to be paths up and down throughout this field that we're going to see. We've got our top 5 that are kind of in their own speed bracket, and then from 6th down to about 10th, they're in their own speed bracket, and it just is going to be shifting all the way through. About every 5 drivers is a different pot of drivers, and the average speed is a lot closer to one another. But Klein finally seeing a little bit of open air in front of him, and he's trying to take off and go.
Definitely like to see that open air when you come to Watkins Glen. It's always one of the tracks that dirty air can play a very good bit of factor. As you can see behind him, there was a gaggle of cars that jump up here to Drew Blaze, who is in his 3rd spot, trying to run him down. As we jump back to this group and see Fahey under attack. I think that's Johnny Bobby Brown there at the 707.
As they're all trying to find a way to get around Klein. Colin is currently just in his own world right now, watching the competition close up on the 707. It's Mike Fahey's able to get him on the pie, and there's going to be the X machine. That will be Justin Johnson. And Justin, happy birthday to the 10 machine here today, as he's just trying to survive his way through. And then, honestly, I feel like most of the drivers that were given an EOL are the ones that are really making the surge forward. Great runs all around for a lot of these drivers as they continue on the 707, though having a little moment of Colin with the 24 of Nicholas Don Francesco, as Zach, that bus stop is really starting to crowd a lot of drivers and having issues so far.
Definitely for sure. David Collins there trying to hold on to that thing there, and it was Don Francesco who had the moment behind him washing up in the carousel. But it's Justin Johnson, like you said, just trying to survive and make his way through here, and has really climbed his way through very efficiently. And sometimes you come to these races, and you don't have to be the quickest road course racer to get a great finish, because a lot of drivers will, finish out of this race due to attrition and just mistakes. As we go down into 1 here, 707, really good job braking, and he's actually going to clear Justin Johnson, who actually had a little bit of trouble from the 24 there, who was trying to get by him. So this group still stacked up, and it just seems like in different spots of the tracks, people are able to run a little bit different speeds.
And one driver might be calling it a night early. The 3 machine of Chris Lanes had to lock up, and there is the replay of what might have called his night early, as it's just been not feeling right. This vehicle's been having handling issues ever since that first lap. Issues going into the S's. And Zach, when it gets bad, it just continues to compile and get worse throughout a racing evening, especially here at Watkins Glen. It looks like for the 3, ultimate ending at the top of the S's.
I think definitely that car, with the damage he was suffered on that thing, it definitely hurt a ton. That's where he gets caught by another car there. Unfortunately, that car, I think, also got loose, so they were low there. I'm not sure what car that was.
I believe that's Paul Olson that he got involved with there, the debut race for the 23. I'm looking at Olson's car, though. It looked to be maybe a net code lucked out for the 23, even with the contact that was made.
Definitely one of those lucky situations, so to say, is do have a battle kind of starting to brew up, as actually Justin Johnson finally does get around the 707. So Johnson is there, but we're seeing this replay, as you can see here. The 92 goes around, but it was the drivers up ahead. It was the 23, I believe.
It was the 23 machine of Olsen that got the contact, as producer got mixed up on 93 and 23. As gonna see at the top of the X's, take another look at this incident. And again, I think really for Olsen, he kind of lucks out here. The contact way worse to the 3 machine. Expecting that vehicle to come out, and the net coat just saving him, and a little bit of an invisible buffer that helps out the 23.
Definitely saved by that there. I was tough for the 3 who caught the damage. The 23 didn't catch the damage. So yeah, that was a interesting iRacing situation, so to say. Is now we check back here with the 707, and you can see Justin Johnson in the 10. He did make the pass up to 10th for that 10 machine. Now the 707 trying to hold up Don Francesco, as these two have seemed to be glued at the hip, Sam, for the time being, because they've been racing each other almost since they dropped the green flag.
And it's a sense of Don Francesco just finding better exit speed at times, but every moment that he goes for a pass, it's just the entry to center. He doesn't have the momentum to carry on that pass and kind of gets a little spooked of going for a moment. And it's given opportunities for other drivers behind these two that continue to battle on. This is going to be frustrating for the 24, as the speed we saw during practice, we're not seeing here during the race, and looks to be a little bit of more scared to make the big move to get by a driver than it is willingness, as just willing to follow and waiting for a mistake. And honestly, the 24 is making more mistakes than the 707.
Exactly, yeah. I think he's definitely a little bit quicker, so to say, than the 707. Like you said, the mistakes just pile up, and he's able to get alongside, just not able to carry the speed out of the corner. So that is a critical thing to get your passes done, is be able to carry that run up off the corner. These tracks to make easy passes, but you can see still just right there in the tracks of that 707. But you know, he can't look too far behind, because James Dubose, who's just been kind of chilling, I'd say, Sam, right behind these two, watching him. And sometimes that's the best position to be in, is that driver just kind of watching the battle happen in front of you while they go out there and use their stuff up.
Well, also with the speed and drivers trying to make passes, is Reich having a little bit of trouble for the 21. He looks to be a little bit slower than he wants to be, as he's been caught and passed. But looking at the drivers that are even behind the 707 and 24, that's going to be Alan Swan as well as Alex Duchesne. They're both also catching up to DeVos and others in this battle. It is growing from just a pot of 2 to a group of about 5 that are trying to find openings, and all are closing in and bearing down. The next 2 to 3 laps going to be very important for this group to either get by one another, let the faster driver by, or this is going to be a grueler for the rest of this race.
That's for sure, Sam. Yeah, it's going to get tough. And one also thing I forgot to bring this up too is, you know, normally here at Lonestar, they do have an incident limit. They did take the incident limit away here tonight, but they do have an incident penalty. So after 16 incidents, you will get a drive-through. So if you rack up those off tracks and they start to pile up here in these 60 laps, you can see also those incidents like that count towards it. You will get a drive-through, as I believe that was also the 85 again there, getting into the wall of Alan Swan. And I heard him talking in practice over the driver chat, Sam. He said this thing is so loose, so I'm sure he's having a tough time fighting that rear end here tonight. Is now Don Francesco finally going to make the pass. Can he make it stick, though?
Trying to make it stick on the outside. It's going to be the 24, and that is one of those better entries into the S's, but that also can help you carry too much speed at times. And Francesco able to hold on to this 24 for now, and able to just power his way by the 707, and that is a big pass to make, because I'm not expecting as much of a hold up from the 21 of Reich. But as all these passes are going on, we'll wait for the 24 to make this pass. I'm expecting out of the carousel to get by Wright as he continues to ride slow on the inside. Trouble did hit the 94 of Austin Gruel, who out of the final corner spun out into pit entry, as there's the pass for the 24. Much easier than it has been gained by the 707.
Definitely a great job there getting the pass on Corbin Wright there. And now Wright going to kind of fall back into this group now. So again, add more people into the mix here and into the lot, as right now, like you said, this is kind of what happens at road courses. These guys are about 40 seconds off our leader of Colin Clary, but you get these like groups and these pods of cars that build up, because you know, people kind of run pace in different sets of groups, and you can really get to see this here at these road courses. And this back group is really wild, as I seen back in the back there, Alex Duchesne. I think he got into the back of James Dubose, the 9, who had that mistake in the bus stop chicane earlier. He got into the back of that 55 there into 1. So it's just showing these drivers are willing to make some big moves.
Yeah, the 9 machine just went a little bit too hot and heavy into turn 1, ran right into the 55. Luckily, both drivers were in a braking zone, so it didn't make both vehicles too squirrely. As if the contact was made in the middle of the corner, I think it would have been a little bit worse, but it was under the braking zone. They'll continue to race on. But Nicholas Danfrancesco able to drive on by. Curious if we can move back to that 9 machine of Alex Duchesne, because behind him now it's just going to be Swan. Goes a little bit too high through the carousel, and he'll lose even more ground for himself. But everyone's starting to spread out a little bit more here. 11 laps in. There's just a couple of pods and groups going back and forth. But Zach, this 85, he's gotten in the wall multiple times, gotten into drivers multiple times. He is going to have a drive-through here very shortly if he continues at this pace. And with not having disqualification like they would normally have, it makes me a lot more concerned for these drivers, because every 4 incident points, you're docked 1 point in the point standing. So you got to be careful not to rack those up, because yes, you're not disqualified, but you can lose a lot of points here tonight if you're not careful.
That's exactly right. You know, when you're getting disqualified, at least it's limiting how many incidents you can rack up. Well, it's unlimited here tonight, technically, how many you can do. It's just how many can you fit in that 60 lap. So, yeah, you could be losing a ton of points from that, and, you know, really losing out on really the result that you have here tonight. So we'll have to see how that works out, as we're right now watching this 88 machine of Drew Blaze, who is about 7 seconds back from our leader, Colin Clary, who is continue to slowly and methodically open that gap up, almost 4.5 seconds back to Greg Watchin-Sky there in that second spot. But I got to give a shout out to like Harold Crow and Austin Mees. Their lap time's looking good, and I think Mees might have the pace to run Harold Crow down here, because he's really shown some consistent times here these last few laps, as you see he's getting around the lap car of Austin Greenwell back there.
And Harold Crow has been with us learning these drivers. So all these drivers are brand new for a lot of us up in the Freaky Fast broadcasting group. So it's been fun to see different drivers' tendencies. And Harold's been kind of on the more aggressive side of things. Aggressive, willing to block, willing to make some big moves. Not always successful all the time, but that aggression has rewarded the 33 at moments when his vehicle is there at the end of these races. And this is fun to see some drivers. I honestly was not expecting Harold to be this quick and be running fourth currently 13 laps into this race, but got to give props to this 33 machine that continues to try to run and go for another top 5. He's gotten 2 so far this season, and trying to get his 3rd if he can stay where he's at right now.
Definitely a great run going for him here tonight, Sam. I got to agree with that, as we jump back here to the 11th spot at Corbin Reich, and looks like the 707 has got around him, and David Collins now. Duchesne, he's caught up in the 9 machine. Dubose is about 4 seconds back, so mistake has really dropped him back on that last lap at a really slower lap time. But got to give Duchesne credit. Like, his lap times right now, he is quick enough to be almost definitely fighting inside the top 10. So we'll see if the 9 can continue his climb back up after that mistake in the bus stop.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Duchesne, looking at his lap times, he looks a lot quicker when there isn't as many drivers in front of him. He's making mistakes just because of the different braking zones running into the competition around him. If he can get some clarity, get by some of these drivers, might have a chance. Don't want to be side by side entering the S's. For a moment there, I thought the 9 was going to have such a good launch. Might be 3 wide for a quick moment. Instead, they all get in line and go for a 2 for 1 through the S's, as Duchesne looking for the run to get by Reich and sending it to the inside. Thinks otherwise. No, they'll be side by side of the bus stop, as Reich says, I don't want to be any part of that, and backs out of it.
Definitely a great move for the 9 there. Kind of took that spot more than anything, and now up to 10th is Reich continuing to fight here. He's going to have some possible another fight on his hands with David Collins trying to come back through after that mistake. So Collins giving up the spot there to those 2, but the 9 going to now try to chase down Don Francesco, who got to give him credit, man. That last time around there, his lap in the 113. So Don Francesco running his best lap of the race here on lap 13. And sometimes that happens here later in these races, is you get farther into it, you kind of get more used to the car, and just almost the practice starts to build up in that muscle memory. So when they get a new set of tires on here, watch out for that 24. He might be able to charge up there and maybe chase down the likes of Justin Johnson, who is only about a half second back from now.
But ultimately, everyone is chasing this driver. Colin Clary in the 7 got the pole and has not looked back at all. Honestly, that last lap, the only one that's really looked a little bit worrisome, and it was only because he was 4 tenths slower Then Greg Watkins Glen, which was the first lap all race long where he's been on the slower end of things. Here's our debut driver, Watkins Glen in the 5. Currently ran a 112.435. That's about 4/10 off of his fastest lap being put down. And this has been one of those fun moments. 15 laps into a run. We're about halfway through this stint that we're expecting drivers to pit at the halfway zone of this race. But Zach, I mean, this is the signs. Did you protect your tires or did you not? Because I'm looking at Colin Clarke's last lap compared to his best lap. His best lap was a 1:11.4. I was not expecting anyone to hit a 1:11 during the race trim and to maximize those tires as quickly as the 7 did.
Definitely, normally with this car, you definitely do want to back the pace down, which a little bit off his qualifying lap for sure, but still a very fast lap to run there in race trim, especially for the time he's still putting down now, which, it really goes back and forth between him and watch this guy. These just who can be quicker. It just seems like, in my opinion, Clary's just a little bit more consistent. Watching this guy can be quicker for a few laps, but then Clary will find the time on a few others as we check out these weather conditions here for today's race. And 74-degree air temperature, 80-degree track temp, not too hot here, of course, with that partly cloudy skies, and not a lot of wind either here to affect the racetrack. So it's definitely a good little setting for racing at 9 a.m. here for this track state.
It's not a bad track state at all. The wind not really going too crazy. I think that helps a lot of these drivers, as a few drivers losing some time in ground. I know out there in chat, we've got a big fan base. It's always cheering on the 37 team of Jordan Maddox, who's back in 17th position. Has just lost the spot to the 94 Boston Gruelle, but Jordan is trying to have his fun out there on track, just trying to survive, which could be a big positive for the 37 team if any other drivers have issues here tonight. But there's our pole sitter. There goes Colin, and Zach, 16 laps in, has already put down a handful of drivers 1 lap down. This is certainly a race where, if it continues at this pace, we're going to have just our top 5 on the lead lap, if not less than that. As pass was just made for 8th position, Nicholas DeFrancesco able to make the pass on Justin Johnson. Heading into the bus stop, does the 10 fight back or does he linger behind? And it's going to be a watch and let the 24 go, as Johnson just watches that 24 DuPont run away through the carousel.
Don Francesco finding some speed there. As now we check up the Harold Crow, and look, he's got his hands full. The 97 Austin Mees, I talked about maybe you're going to be able to have the ability to run him down here at the end of the run. Well, he has found the pace. Austin Mees, a 13 flat the last time by. It was a 13.8 for Harold Crow ahead, so 0.8 of a second difference. And I tell you, when you have just your tires in a much better state here in this race car, you have so much ability just to really manipulate the driver ahead of you. And look at that. Mees drives out of the bus stop right up to the back bumper, goes right to the inside here in this carousel, and makes the nice clean pass. So what a job from the 97 there. And he's going to be now setting his sights to try to make up some time here. Now it's 8 seconds up the road to Drew Blaze. But if anything, driver makes a mistake, you've got to be out here putting the best lap times down to be able to capitalize on someone else's mistakes.
And trying to capitalize on having an EOL penalty. This is Chris Klein, who really just has throttled his way through the field. Same could be said for the 97 as well, but this is the driver that was really making all of the daring moves that kind of gave openings for Meese and a couple of other drivers. All the way up now to 6th place, up to 7 spots. He's currently the 51. Trouble, though, striking for Alan Swan. It looks to be some trouble through the S's. Required damage for the 85, who's got a little bit of competition in between and is holding up the 5 slightly, which certainly is going to help Drew Blaze and a few others, as Swan is going to have to go to pit road with required damage.
Tough break there for Swan, man. That's just an easy mistake to do. You go over that curve, the car loses the rear end, and just could not keep it together there, as that was a heavy impact on the left side of the car. So had to go get that thing worked on, and we'll see how he can recover from that. But that's going to, a 14th place driver right there. That's going to give drivers like Paul Olson, Austin Gruelle, Jordan Maddox, Paul Boomerstein, and those drivers a chance to really gain back some positions. So that's huge. There's another mistake we see here from the 55, James Dubose. He's going to miss turn 1. That's going to push him back a good few seconds.
Pushing back just a little bit, but he was trying to give space to some of the competition around. But at turn 1 seems to be a troublesome spot. Drivers trying to find their braking zones once again as this run progresses through. I know a lot of leagues like to run maybe not the full 60 laps that you can see here tonight. Some like to only run 40 laps, some only run 45 laps. And this would traditionally be the time that a lot of drivers would take their pit stop, and those tires are wounded. They're really overheating. Some are really worn down. And we still have another 10 more laps before we're expecting maybe some of our first official pit stops here tonight. Zach, I mean, this is certainly crunch time. If you've made mistakes, you could be in some big trouble at this point of the run.
That's for sure. You see Colin Clary here coming up on the lap traffic. Corbin Reich and James Dubois, or I believe that's the 3 of Chris Lawless there coming up on him. Got to be careful in this traffic here because it can get very tricky if they make a mistake in front of you. You got to be able to react very quick. And luckily for Clary, he's got a big gap behind him. But, you know, you brought it up about the tires, Sam. The one thing that's making me super smile right now just looking at this car, and one thing I miss with this car more than anything compared to the stock cars we have now, is just looking at the fall off we get to see with these race cars sometimes. I mean, there's people running, 3 seconds, 2 seconds off their best time. So it is very much showing that you got to manage those tires and put it all together for a full run if you want to have a fast race car.
Certainly do, as seeing our leader have to go on the outside, trying to get by Lannis, who luckily was able to get the repairs done. Was in pit road for about 6 minutes, went 6 laps down. The 3 machine now going to be 7 laps down after being passed, but luckily the 3 was able to continue to race on and didn't get the dreaded "there's too much damage, our race is done" message that so many hate to see. But we got to move up to the battling going on for second place. All of the lap traffic has really been hurting the 5 of Watkins Sky. It's now going to be Drew Blaze trying to work on the outer groove to try to get by the 707 of Collins, able to get through. Now going to be a second and a half back because of having going through the outside and just showing lap traffic and where they place themselves at certain points of the track is hurting, but also helping other competition around them.
It definitely is. And yeah, it really is a huge hindrance to have a car right in front of you, and especially right through this part of the racetrack. You really want to have clear racetrack ahead of you. Now we'll see with this back opening here. They have a few lap cars right up ahead of them racing. Will Blaze be able to stay up here with him? Does he have the pace, or does it just come down to really where Watkins Sky catches the lap traffic? Because these two right now, they might be 7 seconds behind Clary, but they got a battle on their hands.
They certainly do. One driver heading into pit road. I don't know if this was a decision to pit now. That's going to be Paul Olson into pit road. 4 tires and fuel. And the 23 is back out on the track. As the 5 able to get by the 3 machine into our second to last corner. And now we'll have Reich right in front of him into our final bend. On Drew Blaze's end, he's got to figure out how to get by this competition and when does he want to head into pit road. The 3 shows a sign to stay low. It's going to force the 88 to go on the outside. If he doesn't make the pass now, going to have to figure out through the S's. Well, this is turning more into a logjam of traffic in the way as Lannis stays extremely wide and Blaze gets through. That's got to be a big positive for the 88, knowing they didn't lose extra time on that run off the exit of turn 1, but you can see here how narrow it feels off the exit of the S's, taking that wider approach. And just like that, Blaze is now barreling down into the bus stop, but has again lost time to Watkins Sky because of lap traffic.
Oh, Watkins Sky up ahead makes the mistake, though. As you can see, he goes off in the bus stop through the grass, and most likely is going to get a slowdown penalty here, so we'll see how that affects him. I think he might have already got it cleared as he's back up to speed now, but look at Blaze close in the gap now right on the back bumper, and this is where it's tough. You get really a lot of pressure when you have a driver right here on you, and this is where it's easy to make those mistakes. So we'll see how Watkins Sky can hold it together here with this 88 hounding it down behind him.
And it's been kind of a closing action because of lap traffic holding back Watkins Sky. That's the first true mistake the 5's had throughout this run. And now Drew Blaze, you can't lose out on this ground. You got to maximize and press if you're going to be going for this position. Otherwise, you might want to just back off, give yourself some clean air to work with. As these two continue to race on at the top of the S's, It's just another gaggle of cars that these two drivers have to watch out for, and it's all the battling for 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and also our leader in the mix through the bus stop. It's a madhouse right now for 8th position because Alex Duchesne goes wide, and it is just our leader. See, drivers racing for position, but where do you go if you're calling here, Zach? Because these drivers have been all over the place.
Wow, and he's lost a ton of time. I mean, his gap went from 8.5, it's already down to 6 seconds now, and he hadn't even got around them. So this right here is going to be a huge chunk of time lost. And right now, stuck behind Johnson, stuck behind Duchesne, and also stuck behind Don Francesco as these three battle it out. Clary's looking to find a way around now. Going to get to the inside of Justin Johnson. He's got one of them done. Can he get the next two here quickly because the gap is already under 6 seconds?
And I don't know if Duchesne, I don't know if Don Francesco understand the scenario they're in because they have been so honed in on racing one another. Going extremely wide, it was going to be Paul Olson who just dumps it off the course, and he's got to back up and get rolling again as he had to come to a complete stop after missing turn 1. But Clary able to get by Duchesne, now setting up to get by Dan Francesco. Francesco does not want to give up any more ground as he has to a late get out of the way move, and he'll actually gain an advantage over Duchesne as well as Johnson. The 24 playing a little bit of those mind games as you see the 5 be able to at least gain 2 seconds on our leader, but that gaggle of cars that our leader just had to get by, the 5 and the 88 both had to figure out how to get through.
Exactly, Sam. Yeah, now that Allen's found his way around and he's navigating without any disaster, so to say, he's in the clear here for the time being. And it'll be a way up the road to the next set of cars. But we'll see how Watkins Sky and Drew Blaze, how when they get there, what it's going to work out. I mean, if you're Austin Mees, I know right now for him, he's 8 seconds back. And right now it did lose a little bit of lap time with the last few laps there compared to the drivers ahead of him. If anything, if they get caught up too bad, he has a chance to make that gap a little bit closer before the pit stops.
Gonna do everything possible. And update on Paul Olson that we saw on the back of our shot there when we were watching all the madness going through the S's. The 23 just completely misses turn 1, drove into the tire wall, and is towed to pit road, and currently just sitting there. Alan Swan had to go into pit road, was only in there for about a minute and 44 seconds, only went 2 laps down for the 85. They're back out on track and getting their repairs done. And here's the 707 of David Collins, who's trying to find a way to get by the 37 of Jordan Maddox, who runs in 15th position, currently 2 laps down, as Austin Meese has got some traffic for himself to get through. Not able to find the opening to get around the 37 off the exit of the bus stop. He'll have to go the long way around through the carousel and barreling down into the second to last corner, as there goes our current position 4 driver on track, our points leader currently. And a day like today, running in 4th, I mean, this is minimizing a lot of mistakes. We've seen how well Colin's been running, as well as Drew Blaze. This is not a bad position to run if you're the 97 heading into Pocono next week.
Exactly. This is, I think, a huge day for him to drive up to 4th already and be in position. If anybody in front of him really makes a disastrous mistake, maybe pick up and put himself on the podium. So that was a huge after coming back from starting farther back there, and we'll see how he can gather up from here. Right now we're checking out this battle back here. I believe this is Justin Johnson, who's now got the likes of the Greg Watkins guy in the second place car right behind him. Drew Blaze about 1.5 seconds back from this grouping here. But luckily for Watkins guy, Don Francesco has kind of drove away from him, the same has Duchesne. So it's kind of opened up this lap traffic a little bit more for them.
I'm curious if this is now going to change the mindset of Johnson and also Duchesne and Don Francesco, that we're all on top of each other. Didn't want to lose ground to each other's battles. Might make these passes a little bit easier, as watch this guy on the inside. Just an easy breeze through, and now staying to the inside to let Drew Blaze through. So already showing a major difference compared to what our leader had to deal with compared to second and third.
Definitely a major difference now is old Drew Blaze is going to catch Justin here. He's going to, that's going to be tough there because it was right at the apex. So a little bit of an awkward change of positions, but they'll get it together cleanly, and that's what matters the most, is it all worked out clean. Nobody ends up wrecked in that situation. So Johnson going to give up that spot, or not the spot, but so to say track position there to the 88 as he goes on by as the lap traffic falls back.
And these drivers now are starting to get to the zone of when do you want to pit? Who's going to go with what we like to call an undercut, which is pitting sooner than the driver ahead of you, or who's going to go with an overcut of staying out a little bit longer than the competition around you when they decide to go into the pits? Or do you just split it in half? Lap 30 going into 31 is when I'm going to hit pit road. Zach, at this moment in time, looking at some of the track conditions, how the drivers have been racing around one another, what options do you feel like is the most optimal one that these guys should be watching out for?
Yeah, it's tough to say right now. With the way this race is played out right now with the fall off, I've been watching. It really seems like the fall off really comes down to more traffic and the drivers where their consistency is at. So it can be anywhere from upwards of 3 to 2 seconds. So when this pit stop does happen, I'm just going to be interested to see how far you can even stretch it on fuel, if anything. 30 laps around here is a long time, but I imagine this tank can go a few bit longer. You might maybe think about stretching out a little longer, but you might also think about cutting here a little bit earlier just to get the undercut. But it's always nice having that fresher tires than the drivers ahead of you. So I feel like a lot of people elect to do that strategy just to be on the attack more than the defense. So it's going to be interesting to see what they play. But I think the biggest ones you're going to have to watch are the groupings like, Harold Crow and Austin Bees there for 4th and 5th, Drew Blaze and Greg Watkins guy there for how different it's going to be for them. I do see a car off into the kitty litter, so to say. It looks like Alan Swan in the 17th position. He's gone off the track once again, and he's trying to gather it back up. There's also Corbin right there in the carousel. You see him trying to gather it as Harold Crow goes by.
And in the pit row is also going to be Jordan Maddox. I don't know if we've got the replay of the 85, what happened to him, but he just simply grazed the grass. And here it is, just grazing the grass under a braking zone. And in a blink of an eye, you're off track and you're spinning around. Aerial view, and just there's the touch of the grass into the left side wall, back into the right side wall. And that could be calling the end of Swan's day with that required damage flag again for the 85.
Such a tough situation to be in there. Just you get into that corner, and I've done that 1,000 times myself. It's just you really want to open the corner up as much as possible there on the left-hander, and you catch that grass, it just throws the rear end around. And Alan Swan's going to be going out of here looking forward to next week at Pocono and not being at the road course here today as we check in here with our leader, Colin Clary. Right now on lap 29, going to be interested to see where does he decide to pit as he comes up on the lap traffic of Austin Growell. We'll go to the inside here in the final corner. I think going to stay tucked, and for a moment there I thought maybe he was going to go to pit road with how tucked he was on the inside, but just giving plenty of room to the lap car on the outside to be very safe.
I feel like if you're calling, you've got so many options here. You're pulling away from your competition. They're dealing with lap traffic currently and the heated battle for 8th that's going on right now. There's still a grouping of drivers, that being Dan Francesco and also Duchesne. Just catching up to them is Watching Sky and Drew Blaze. So this is going to be the main thing to watch out for. If you're going to be watching Sky as well as Blaze, even if you pit early, you're still going to be at a disadvantage. You have to make sure that you've got maybe 4 laps of just running clean laps to get close to where Colin's at before he pits. Colin can wait those 3 laps, and he'll have fresher tires for the rest of this run, so a big advantage for the 7 machine, who also just gets to listen over the radio and hear that's Watching Sky and Blaze are still dealing with traffic.
That they are, and that's music to your ears. And like you said, Sam, it gives a lot of options, so to say, for that 20 or that 7 machine, just to really kind of make a very educated decision and say put them in the best situation possible with a 10-second gap. So right here we watch from Watching Sky's back bumper, and I was about to say he's ducking off to the right there, so he's going to be coming to pit road here and pit right at the halfway point. So not surprised, that's what a lot of drivers like to do. We'll see if Drew Blaze can take advantage of maybe 1 to 2 laps extra on this run to have a little advantage on the tires.
Advantage on the tires, maybe hope that when you come out of pit road, you're not dealing with as much traffic. Other drivers also coming into pit road. Austin Reese, Harold Crow, going to be getting themselves a little bit of more repairs. More tires for themselves. As Alan Swan continues to linger in pit road with required damage. Mike Fahey as well will join into pit road with all these drivers. Going to get 4 sets of, use their 1 set that's in pit road. I think that was also another thing to talk about we knew this was going to be a 1-stop here tonight. When did you want to use that final set? Was it going to be another factor of what did you learn in this first run compared to the second run? If we can bring up the weather, I think that could also help us take a look at how you want to decide this, because of the fact of when and how's the track temperature changed, because it was around 80 degrees was the track temperature. It's warmed up, so that could be another thing of, well, the track's heating up, those tires might fall off sooner. I might want to stay on a little bit longer to help my tires out in the long run.
Exactly, Sam. I think that's what a lot of drivers were thinking. But Colin Clary, Drew Blaze, all of them coming down here, lap 31. So they went one more lap, and Mies, like we see right here, has looks like he's continued on for the time being. So we'll see if he comes to pit road this time and pits with these guys or not, because definitely an interesting situation here when to like to pit. But like you said, with the temperature rising on the track, it's going to be tougher this run here with that temperature continuing to rise with the time increasing.
And did you save enough fuel that will allow you to stretch it even further than that? As driver that stays out for an extra lap going to be Corbin Reich compared to a lot of these other drivers. Blaze, after getting his service done, will actually be ahead of Watkins Sky. So a 1-lap advantage for the 88 on top of having a half a second lead over the 5. Just showing a good entry and exit lap can be massive for the drivers around you as well, no matter if you pitted sooner than later.
That is a perfect example of why you need that, Sam. And man, what a job by Drew Blaze. Now it is battle on. Grinch Watkins Sky has everything to play for right now with that 88 right in front of him. Now the 1 lap, difference in tires will be an advantage for the time being. But if you're watching this guy here, you can methodically make that not too big of an issue. He's just going to have to drive very, very strongly here. But the thing that's going to be tough, he's now stuck in the dirty air.
Stuck in the dirty air, and in front of Drew Blaze, a lot of clean traffic because the 21's about to hit pit road, and your next lap car isn't for another few laps. So it's put down clean lap after clean lap, but Watkins Sky does not want to lose ground to the competition around him. Understanding you gotta put the pressure on the 88, force him to use a little bit extra than maybe he would want to on a traditional run. But this is all on Watkins Sky and Blaze because they're leader of this race. Colin Clary is almost 11 seconds ahead of him in his own zip code, and he as well has no traffic around.
Definitely like where his position is Blaze there, loose out the top of the S's. That's going to put the 5 to the inside, but the 88 doesn't back out. The 5 does, and Drew Blaze holds on for the time being after that mistake. So he can breathe a sigh of relief there because that was a mistake that looked like it opened up the door for the 5, but just not enough room there available.
Not enough room, and the 88 will just continue to hold on for this position. Yes, you're being really aggressive, but you got to be careful not to overdo it. And also, these drivers know their tires are now warmed up. This is going to be your true lap of putting down maybe your fastest time of the day. And who wants to go for that fast lap for themselves? Colin Clary currently fastest lap was a 1:11.424. And that was on the first run. This second run, 11.8 was the fast time for the 7. That last go around for the 88 and the 5, they were within a tenth of each other. And they'll continue to race on. 14 seconds back from that battle we were just watching was the 97 Austin Hughes, who's kind of just having his own run and race. Going to be Chris Klein back in 5th. He's another 4 seconds back from the 97, and everyone's kind of equally dispersed. The only close battle that's happening right now on track is that battle for second place.
It's really the only one that's close at the moment for sure, Sam, and it's going to continue that way with, I think, the 5 having a little bit more pace, but the 88 having the advantage with the tires is going to make this a very interesting run, so to say, and definitely seeing different lap times here on this run. It's definitely shown that the track is a little bit hotter. These drivers not able to run as quick as they've ran earlier. We'll see if the tires kind of come into their own here in a few, but definitely right now, lap time slower than the first run. Definitely showing this track is starting to heat up a little bit as the daytime and that sun continues to rise.
Certainly is, as that was Jordan Maddox that gets out of the way, and the racing action expected to heat up. Lap 35 of 60. And this is really the only battle on track. We'll keep it on this battle as we will step away for our one commercial break of the evening. It's been a good one so far here at Watkins Glen. You are watching the Lonestar NASCAR iRacing Series presented by DadBod.Studios. Race 9 of the season. Our one road course we get to see here tonight, and Chris Clary is proving he is the driver that is quick on the ovals and on the road course. We'll come back right after this to see the conclusion of Watkins Glen as well. Who's going to take this battle for second? Who's going to take other battles? We'll see after this. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Lonestar NASCAR iRacing Series presented by DadBod's TikTok Studio. Go check out DadBod's TikTok Studio on TikTok. You can go watch the driver point of view of Justin X Johnson, and so many drivers that have joined the Lonestar Series have honestly all watched Justin race and saw a stream and said, you know what, I want to check out and see all this racing action myself. Why don't you go out there and check out what DadBod's got going on in his stream tonight? It is a night of survival. It just hit a switch here in the last 10 laps. Ever since our pit stops, multiple drivers have been hit with black flags because of having too many incident points and having to serve a drive-through penalty. One of those that are serving right now is Chris Lanis, but also other drivers had to serve their penalties. James Dubose had to serve a penalty. Alan Swan has a penalty that's to serve. Already have served is David Collins. And the most shocking of all wrecks, you saw it there on the replay, the 5. That's Greg, Watkins Sky. Just a mental lapse, spun around, and the 5's day is over. He is in pit road, currently 13th at this time, 3 laps down. And Zach, that is not the way we were expecting this 5 and 88 battle to come to an end.
Definitely not. Yeah, that's tough there. Got on that curb a little too much and just lost the rear, and now that's going to put him out the race. But what it does do, Austin Mees, he slots up to a podium position, and it also puts that podium position on a battle because Chris Klein only about 3.5 seconds back. And now, yes, he does have 1 lap older tires than Austin Mees. I will say, Klein had a little bit better pace, in my opinion, at the end of the last run. So we'll see if Klein can continue to, maybe make a charge towards the end on Mees, but I think it's going to come down to who's going to be the most consistent and least driver to make the mistakes, because right now it is very much up to that decision, because I've seen it from everybody. They all got a lot of pace. It's just who can put the laps together consistently.
We're in the final 18 laps of this race. 43 have been ran so far, and it has certainly been, at this point, a lot of leagues would be coming to those final 3 laps of a race. We still have plenty more laps to go, and that mental fatigue is starting to weigh in. You might be feeling mental fatigue, physical fatigue. I think that's something that a lot of viewers might not think about. Yes, we're running in the sim world, we're virtual, we're at home, but it is a tough thing to race these types of vehicles at home for 60 laps and to hit the consistent laps that you're looking for. Even if one mistake can throw off just your mental and having to lock up the brakes. It is rough out there, especially with all the different variations of steering wheels, pedals. It is a physical battle when you come to a road course.
It definitely is, and when you add the 60 laps to the total, that always makes it definitely an endurance type of race. But we'll see how they can make it through, as again, still plenty of time for these drivers to have a slip up. We saw the 5 there have his mistake. Any one of these drivers could have that happen, and next thing you know, you're surging up the scoreboard because drivers just have that mental lapse after being out here for so long. But gotta give a huge shout out to Colin Clary. He's been so perfect out front. He's continued to keep that gap around 10 seconds to Drew Blaze, who has done a good job of stabilizing that once he's got the second. But it is very much an interesting day for all around. But I tell you what, Mike Fahey, last week's winner, he's got to be happy, I think, in his 5th place position right now, Sam.
Yeah, winner of Charlotte, last race that we had, and currently in 5th position, part of a cluster of drivers that had to start at the end of the line for tonight's race, and was able to take opportunities for some big passes, survived a couple of close calls here tonight. The 45 certainly getting the monkey off his back with his win that he had at Charlotte. What a major win it was for himself, especially with so many times he felt like he had the speed for top 5, top 10 finish. Just never really came to hand, and it all finally came to fruition at Charlotte, getting into victory lane. But we're heading to Pocono as our next race, and Zach, it doesn't really get easier. The Tricky Triangle, it's got the name Tricky for a reason. That next racetrack's going to be a fun one that you don't want to miss out next week. And then we've got Kansas and Texas. The next 3 races certainly should be fun ones on the docket.
That's for sure. These are going to be 3 races, I think. You're going to see a lot of crazy action because, again, intermediate package. So that means 550 horsepower, high downforce, big spoilers. They're going to be running very much close to each other all throughout each of those races. So going to be exciting stuff to see for sure. But we'll see how they can carry that momentum from tonight into there. And if you're someone like a Colin Clary who's been one of the dominant drivers, so to say, on the intermediate package, he's got to feel good about tonight. If he's able to pull out here with another victory, that could put him back on the path to climb back towards that lead. Because like you said, we took off from the season and it looked like, man, this guy was going to be tough to beat. But it's been a few weeks of having issues just that take him out, and it's piled up to push him back from that lead. And now he's got to work back to it.
Yeah, I mean, Dover got taken out in lap 4 of that race, finished around 21st position, and the competition all stepped up to gain big points on the 7. And then the big thing that lost the major points that forced Colin to be now 20 points back instead of being 30 points advantage that he had heading into Dover was the fact that he just missed Charlotte. He was not there at our last race. So every mile and a half that he has been there for, this 7 has won. And that's going to be a scary thought, knowing that after Pocono, we've got 3 mile-and-a-half tracks in front of us with Kansas, Texas, and Homestead before we go to short track racing at Bristol in June. So that is where we can really see the big pickups. If Colin has a mistake next week, you better hope this 7 doesn't show up for one of these upcoming mile-and-a-half tracks in front of us. Otherwise, he could be taking the points lead right on back, even with missing a race. As we fall back to some of the other competition where they're running right now, Harold Crow currently runs in 6th position. When Harold's been caught, he kind of lets the competition drive on by, but what a run it's been for the 33 in 6th position, trying to grab his 3rd top 10 of the season. And when he's able to finish up front, he does pretty well. It's the finishing part that's kind of been the difficult thing for the 33.
That's for sure, yeah. Harold's shown a lot of pace at a lot of these tracks, and impressive tonight here. Even at one point was running in that 4th position, did have a little slip up there in the whole pit stop sequence and lost out a little bit there, but right now only about 4 seconds behind Fahey. So if something was to happen, even the Klein or Mies, he could still be in a podium spot, and it's about a minute back to the next driver to him. So right now Harold Crow just has everything to gain from and not much to lose if he can keep it on track. So we'll see how the final 14 plays out for him, but getting to the finish has been the issue for this 33.
It certainly has been, and continuing to race on. You see the 24. What an eventful start it was for Nicholas Danfrancesco, who had the battle between himself and Alex Duchesne, as well as Justin Johnson and so many others in the middle of this pack. The 24, a part of the group of drivers that had to deal well to start this race off, and able to move up into 7th position. Not a bad place to be for the 24, who sees some of the competition a little bit further back and a little bit more comfortable, is the 9, letting it by Mike Fahey. But seeing the 9 of Alex Duchesne, and we saw the early spin in the bus stop, then had contact with the 55 of Dubose. And still, even with all the sliding, all the contact, I mean, Zach, this has been impressive by the 9. He's probably got to be the driver of the day of just surviving and willing to have the mental fortitude to continue on with a terrible start that he had.
No doubt, for sure. I mean, some drivers would have parked it right there, just knowing the situation that they put themselves in. But Duchesne went out there, continued on, and right now looking for a good solid top 8 finish. I mean, it's a sizable gap he has back to Justin Johnson. It would take something pretty big mistake for him to give up that spot. So great job for him, and Don Francesco's not that far off the road even from him. So he's had a great, excellent day, and so is Justin Johnson as we look back at him. And same for Corbin Wright back in 10th. They're going to take top 10 finishes out of days that probably they thought coming into this that might not be an opportunity with it being a road course. As Corbin goes wide here off into the kitty litter, don't want to do that. That's definitely a spot you want to keep it out of. Is luckily no barriers hit, and he's got a huge gap back to David Collins even, so no harm, no foul right now.
Yeah, David Collins had a drive-through penalty, forcing the 707 instead of battling, but maybe could have capitalized on that mistake by the 21. Currently runs in 11th position for the 707 as he goes off track a little bit, and you don't want to be collecting too any more incident points with 12 laps to go. As David Collins, he was probably the hardest driver to get by up front. He was the one that wasn't really defending aggressively, but Zach was running in the perfect place on track, right in the middle of the course. Didn't give drivers really that confidence to just drive on by, and found himself now in 11th position. A driver also who had to fight on through. Here's the 94 of Austin Gruel, who at one moment spun out of the final corner, wrecked in the pit road entry, had to have his own self drive through, and runs in 12th, getting past to be putting another lap down. But another congratulations on just willing to fight to make it to the end of the day goes to that of Austin Gruel.
Yeah, Jordan Max is 14th. Greg watching this guy is back out there on the track, so that's huge for those guys to at least secure top 15s and stay out of falling out of there. So it just shows you got to keep fighting even if you have those mistakes. So great job by everybody there. And also I was watching a little bit of the times. Chris Klein up there in that 4th spot, he has slowly gained a little bit on Austin Mees, so we'll see if Klein can maybe have a fight for the podium even in that 51 car. So we still have a chance and an opportunity for some few battles to heat up out here.
Still waiting those mistakes. We still got 11 laps to go. Mistakes are always looming. I mean, we know in a blink of an eye, everything could change on where these drivers run. Currently, here's Austin Mees, 3rd place runner currently. And here's that battle we were talking about. Chris Klein, Austin Mees, the battle between 3rd and 4th, 2.7 seconds currently. It was down almost 2 seconds at a moment in time. But I believe that's because Austin had a little bit of lap traffic, got by that traffic, and he's putting down, again, burner laps that are honestly competing with the leader right now is this 97. A very good lap by Austin that last go around as he ran almost identical times to Colin.
Definitely doing a great job right now, the manager's hat. So I think Colin right now, even out front, he's probably backed it down a level or two just to make sure everything's nice and easy. And even as you get farther in this race, sometimes it's just you start to hit that mental lapse and everybody kind of falls into that same rhythm of running at the same time. So also the track state is probably starting to get to a point where everybody's starting to lose a little bit of grip with the track heating up and all that rubber laid down. It's starting to heat that rubber up and everybody's starting to feel it. As you can see there now, about 10 o'clock in the morning, and we've gone up to 86, so another degree that we've gained since the last time we checked it. But yeah, 6 degrees up from the first time we checked it. That definitely can have quite a factor.
It certainly does. I mean, up 6 from where we started. The wind's starting to go up a little bit. I don't think that's as big of a factor as the track temp is. And that is really what slowed down the speeds, what's caused a little bit more of these mistakes than we did in the first half of the race. And we are now in the final 10 laps here tonight. For Colin Clary, Drew Blaze runs in 2nd. And for Blaze as well, for the 7 to Colin Clary, this probably wasn't the run you were hoping for. Yes, you capitalized on finishing 1st and 2nd if they finish where they're at right now. But with Austin Mees having this good of a run in 3rd, you're not gaining as much points as you would maybe be hoping towards this 97, who all he has to do is continue to run close, be near the top 3. And the top 3 currently on the track are the top 3 in points. The rest of the field just trying to make it to the end of this race. As that 88 Zach, you look at the stats entering tonight. 1 win that we saw at Richmond, our first race we got to broadcast these guys, but 5 top 5s, 6 top 10s out of the 8 races that have been ran. One of the more consistent drivers, has the most top 5s of everybody, as well as tied with the most top 10s.
Definitely a very consistent driver, and I think he's shown the most on really the 750 package. When we were at Richmond, his longer pace was so strong, so I'm excited to get someone like a Bristol here later in the season and see if that short track speed continues on for him. So Bristol a little different than Richmond, of course, but he just seems like he has that short track style where it really suits his driving. So we'll see how that works out, but this guy here tonight has shown that road course suits his driving, because Colin Clary has been untouched so far.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Colin, and we have the iRacing official rating. It's known as iRating. This driver is on top. He's got the most iRating of all drivers here in the road course side of things at 3,900. The next closest is actually Chris Klein in 4th place with 3,100. Majority of the field is ranging anywhere from 3,000 to 1,000, and we're just seeing a driver that's close to 4,000 and what the skill level really truly looks like. You're a little bit more consistent. You've gotten a lot more practice in. And the 7, it doesn't matter that we're in the Gen 6 car. He is performing at this moment. 8 laps, about to be 7 laps to go here tonight. You know, looking at some of our bigger movers from where they qualified. The biggest one is Chris Klein, up 9 spots from where he started, from 4th place. He started only back in 13th. Been a good run. With 7 laps to go for the 7 machine, it's now just a waiting game at this point. Minimize the mistakes and make it to the end.
No doubt. Yeah, definitely. I think that's the goal for Colin right now is see that white flag first, then make it around to that checker flag. That's got to be the goal that's set in his mind with about a 15-second gap. Almost now grew back to Drew Blaze in that 2nd spot, but it's Austin Mees, of course, there in 3rd, and that gap still about 2.8 between him and Chris Klein, so that's kind of evened out with Mike Fahey, another 7 back in 5th, and Harold Crow still at about another 5 off of Fahey. So those battles have all kind of calmed down, so to say, when it comes to the deltas and the gaps and how much people are gaining. But right now, it is very much in just a survival mode, I think, for a lot of drivers to get into this checker flag, because a lot of mistakes I've seen are being made.
It certainly is, and with the running where drivers are at currently, our driver of Drew Blaze, he's leading in the most top 5s of everyone, and if he finishes where he's at and Chris Lanis finishes where he's at, we will see an absolute, instead of being tied for the most top 10s, it'll be Drew Blaze taking that record of the most top 10s, as Lanis currently runs in 16th position, 10 laps down for the 3 machine after his early troubles. But you know, this 7 has been on rails so far here tonight. Now the gap's up to 15.2 seconds. And now the question kind of looms of how many more drivers will be a lap down. The next 2 drivers that are close would be Mike Fahey and Harold Crow. But looking at their lap times, they should, as long as they minimize their mistakes, just stay on the lead lap, which is kind of the closest battles to watch. Will we see the 45 or the 33 go a lap down? Or will the 7 be slowing down his pace a little bit more, backing off? I mean, when you have this big of a lead, Zach, you don't want to throw off your rhythm of backing off your pace too much, but is it worth maximizing and going full bore or slightly backing off at this moment if you're the 7?
You know, you can't like take the full, full thing off, because you do lose rhythm when you try to go a little bit slower. But, you know, I preach the thing of drive like 99%, to that 98 percentile. Just lift a little bit, 10, 20 feet earlier, brake 10 to 20 feet earlier, brake a little softer, about 10% less, and just be easier on the throttle. Everything can be more gentle. And in my opinion, sometimes you go faster from just doing that, especially in this race car, because it's just such a car. It's about putting the power down, continue your momentum, and drive up off the corner instead of really trying to carry speed. You want to drive down the straightaway instead of that. So it's definitely something that I think a lot of drivers can work on. Sometimes attacking is just too much, and that backing up can actually be quicker. But you definitely don't want to be out here running qualifying laps if you're Colin Cleatherly, just because that is where you're taking risk. And right now, just take all the risk out of it and just hit your clean marks.
He continues to hit his mark, continues to look good. Closest battle for position is that battle for 3rd, which is kind of ballooned out to now 3 seconds being the difference between those two of Meese and Klein. But 5 laps to go, about to be 4. Clary able to get by. That is Dubose, who stays wide to let our leader drive on through. But thank you to everyone that's watching with us. I know it's certainly a race where we saw the first half be a lot more dramatic. Pit road happened, and a lot of wrecks and penalties were given out, but it's really calmed down here in the final 10 laps. Everyone's kind of gotten in their position. It's all about now just hitting your marks, take it to the end. But for those that are able to comment out there on the chat, who's excited for Pocono next week? Who do you feel like is a driver to watch out for? Because I've got my eye on the 7 as one of those to watch out for, but I'm excited for Mike Fahey in the 45. That driver has really stepped up everywhere we go. Again, next week we're right back here at Lonestar NASCAR iRacing Series action at 8:50 p.m. Eastern, 4:50 p.m. Pacific. Zach, I mean, I feel like Mike Fahey's been kind of the funnest driver to watch whenever we go to these mile-and-a-half tracks on what speed he'll have to try to beat some competition around him.
Completely agree. I think he's been one of the more exciting drivers to watch, so to say. And I'm interested to see someone like a Chris Klein get a good run, because he's had some good speed at those tracks too, and just hasn't had the finishes, I think, to go along with that. But it's I think the door opens wide when we go to these tracks for drivers to have opportunities. So I think you're going to see a wide list and a wide variety of names popping up next week when we go to Pocono. But they're going to be, I think, a very much handful of them here that leave tonight going, I survived Watkins Glen, thank you, and I'm glad we're moving back to the regular part of the schedule because it just gets so tough. As now you see here our leader Colin Clary coming up on the lap traffic. That's Greg watching Sky there in the 14th spot after getting that car fixed, and I'm going to come up on him here. This is going to be a little awkward here coming to the bus stop, so we'll see how it works out. Watching Sky, great respectful move there to lift to let the 7 go, and now they'll close in on Duchesne. And like you said, this is the possibility to put this 9 another lap down, I believe.
Another lap down for Duchesne. Currently is 1 lap down, gonna be 2 laps down when he gets past here. And then a few cars ahead of them will be finding the 33 of Harold Crow. 37 of Jordan Maddox will stay wide, and 3 laps to go. Now let's make it 2 for Colin Clary. Also another driver with the drive-through penalty. That's going to be the 94 of Austin Gruelle, who just is going to pull it into pit road. And just call it a day for the 94, who tried everything to stay out there on track, but has to serve a penalty for themselves. And with some of the chaos that's been going around with drivers having to come into pit road and get out with 2 laps to go, there is now a battle for position. It's 9th place. Corbin Reich has ran down Justin Johnson. I believe Johnson also having a little bit of an air for the 10. And there we go. It's been about 8 laps since we've seen a battle for position going on. And just like that, it's snuffed out as Johnson is pulling away from Mike.
Yeah, he had a great exit out of the carousel there for Justin Johnson. So Wright going to have to reload here and come back at him here in the final few moments of this race. But just might not be enough as that mistake there as he went really wide there in the final corners. We check back to our leader, Colin Clary. He's very close here, Sam, to be getting that white flag.
Well, he's waiting for it in the final 2 corners of 2 laps to go. And the 7 machine was second fastest during practice, just lost out late to Watching Sky, but during qualifying, ripped the fast time. No one was even close. Grabbed the pole and now sees the white flag in hand. Colin Clary, 1 lap to go for the driver who has dominated, has led every lap so far here tonight, and is looking to win again for the 7. This machine's won on rails so far this season, trying to prove he can win on any style type of course. He's already won 3 times. Let's make it number 4 if he can get around here.
What a job he's done tonight. He has been almost perfection. I haven't really seen too many big moments from him. He's just been clean, and ever since the drop of the green flag has just put the 7 out front and has not looked back as he goes to the bus stop in the carousel. It's home free now.
He entered tonight. He missed out on Charlotte, didn't show up for the race. He got wrecked early at Dover. That's how he lost the points lead and now is down by over 20. After tonight, that gap's going to be a little bit smaller, and everyone's eyes are going to be set on the 7 of Colin Clary. Where will he be settled after tonight's race is over, and how will he retaliate in the next 4 races? Because tonight, the 7 wins the 1 road course of the season, grabbing his 4th win. And everyone else better watch out. Colin, take the victory as he backs off to let some other drivers race on through to gain a couple of more laps. But what a run for the 7 machine. Now Colin's got to wait for the rest of the field to finish out this race so then he can do some burnouts. But what a run as Colin gets to burn it down. The battling going on for 9th position still underway. There's just 2 more corners left for them. But it looks like for Reich making a little bit of a mistake. Justin Johnson might hold on for that battle. But Zach, Colin is quick. He proves it once again.
Definitely a very quick driver and burned it down right here, and Gotta be careful going backwards here while the race is still going. You don't want to get that disqualification that could make getting results a little tough. But we'll see. He's already got one this season where that black flag called him at Richmond. But it looks like Justin Johnson, like we were told, that the battle is going to hold on for ninth.
Holds on for ninth. Rest of the field slices on through, and there's no other changing for position. And so our top three: Colin Clary, Drew Blaze, Austin Meese. We'll talk to them right after this as we got the post-race show. Congratulations to Seven getting his 4th win of the season. For us, we're not done just yet. Post-race show right after this. We'll be back with talking to our top 3 and get you ready for Pocono next week. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's the post-race show for the Lonestar NASCAR iRacing Series presented by DadBod.Studios. Race 9 is in the books from Watkins Glen, and the Bog 147 is going to the 4-time winner now of Colin Clary. And we go down to victory lane to go talk to the 7 machine that dominated here tonight. Colin, it's Sam and Zach up at the booth. You got us?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Doing good. I mean, you had probably the roughest stint these last 2 weeks, but you're back onto your winning ways, getting your 4th win here at the Glen, our one and only road course of the season. How are you feeling after your performance here and getting back into the winning ways?
Yeah, after what happened to me at Dover and then I missed Charlotte, I had to sit on that for like 2 or 3 weeks. This is the result of that. So.
Definitely a dominant performance, Colin. Congrats, like Sam said, on another win here, man. I mean, take us through tonight because, from the outside it looks smooth sailing, but we know how difficult and hard these cars are to drive. Just take us through if there was any, mistakes out there that almost got you out, or do you feel like it was a pretty smooth night?
The biggest issue was some lap cars, but in terms of actual me making mistakes, I don't think I did, thankfully. Mostly just focused on trying to keep the fronts on it. In practice, I was very front limited, so that's what my focus was on early in the run, is not destroying the fronts.
Well, you did a great job on that, Colin, coming away with the victory. And now we're going back to a little bit more traditional of ovals. First, we got Pocono before we get to the 1.5 miles where you've been dominating. What are your feelings for Pocono and knowing after that racetrack, we got 3.5 miles laid out in front of you?
Yeah, I absolutely hate Pocono, so I'll just look forward to the 1.5 miles and do what I can at Pocono. But I cannot stand that racetrack, so.
Well, it's going to make things a little bit more of a talking point next week. We see you dominate that racetrack after hating on it. But if you don't, then hey, we know what we're expecting. Colin, congratulations again on this victory. And before we let you go, the floor is yours for any other shout outs.
No, just Drew and Justin, as always, for putting this on. Thank you guys for another great broadcast.
Well, thank you for giving us a great show to call. That will be your victor here tonight of Colin in the 7. Enjoy this one, Colin, and good luck next week at Pocono.
Thank you. You guys have a good night.
You too. As we go down to second place, that was your victor, Colin Clary. We bring up Drew Blaze, who was searching for a second place battle, but his competition gets wrecked out there late. We got Drew Blaze with us. He'll take a second overall, though. Drew, certainly an interesting race overall for you. You were battling to try to get by the Watkins guy there for most of this race. Then he took himself out in the later pasture of this run. Then you were kind of on your own. What was it like for yourself, though, out there on track?
Just a lot of trying to pace the car and not completely wreck the tires. Yeah, a lot of the first one was kind of seeing if I could save the tires and how I would be versus the other guys near the end of the run. And I mean, it kind of worked out. I felt like it was a pretty good pace, and then I don't know, I went harder that second stint after the pit stop, trying to stay in front of Greg, and I was kind of real slow and reeling, and the tires were just way too hot at the end of that run. But I'm not sure what happened to him, but we had a good battle going on there.
Definitely was a good battle, Drew. Congrats on second, man. I mean, yeah, definitely coming into the pits there, you pitted one lap after him. Were you surprised to come out ahead of him, actually, and jump him through that phase?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. He's been pretty precise on my pit stops and try to get in and out of there as fast as I can, and I'm pretty known for pushing the pit limits, so yes and no, but I didn't know if I was going to be able to keep him behind me was the main thing, and he was right there with me for a while, and all of a sudden he disappeared.
He certainly did disappear. We saw him wrecking out of that corner. Drew, you as well as your competition of Austin and Colin finished top 3 or the top 3 in points. We're heading to Pocono next week, and then we've got a 3-race stretch of 1.5 mile racing. How are you trying to capitalize on these future races to put yourself as the points leader in the upcoming races?
Yeah, I don't know. Colin's been pretty consistent so far. I need some of these guys to start roughing them up a little bit. I guess that's the only way. But yes, I just got to be really consistent. And as long as I can stay there and keep inching my way towards the points lead, I think we can be there at the end.
Well, we can't wait to see how you perform in these upcoming races. Drew, before we let you go, the floor is yours for any other shout outs.
Yeah, just all my guys here at Lonestar Racing. Love these guys to death, and yeah, just got to thank you guys for putting on a great broadcast. All of our drivers here for showing up tonight and putting on a great race, and yeah, shout out to everybody watching. I appreciate you guys.
Well, that will be the 88 machine of Drew Blaze coming away second here tonight. Congratulations on that run, Drew, and good luck in these upcoming races, especially next week at Pocono.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
As we move down from second place, we go down to third to talk to Austin Meese in the 97 to get his thoughts on tonight's run. Austin, it's Sam and Zach up at the booth. You got us?
Yes, sir.
Well, you were part of the group of drivers had to start at the end of the line with some EOL penalties that were kind of given out for some drivers. You certainly had an eventful start to the race. The second half seemed like it was more of just survival. How are you feeling, though, coming away third at the end of the day?
I feel pretty good. You know, this is my first podium ever in a road course, and actually first full race, I guess, really. I always seem to wreck out or something goes wrong on my end. I have bad luck, but yeah, I can't complain. You know, the early start there was A bit touch and go with starting clear in the back, but we managed to get position early and take advantage of it, and just kind of waited on the race to come to us, and we ended up third.
Definitely a great race for you, Austin, to come from that back from the EOL there. I mean, like you said, it was touch and go. What do you think was the most important thing for getting through that traffic and not having issues? Because we know everybody was fighting those cars really hard there at the beginning of this race.
It's 100% waiting on the openings. In my past history, I guess, if you will, I tend to force moves when they really shouldn't be, or force openings. So in that opening lap, especially, I think we got up to 5th or 6th from 15th. So it's just knowing when you can pass and when you can't. I really worked on that the past couple weeks, just understanding the track better and what we need to do to move through the field. And I would even do some AI races and just put myself clear at the back of the field just to get that experience of hitting those openings when they came about.
Well, Austin, with Colin wrecking out in Dover, missing last race at Charlotte, it puts you on top of the board as the points leader. We now have ourselves Pocono and then 3.5 mile tracks in front of us from there. What do you feel any pressure as the points leader coming into these last couple of races, or are you just coming in and hoping for the best at the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely on the back of the mind, leading points with such a stacked field. But with that said, 1.5 mile, they're my bread and butter. So I'm looking forward to it. I think we've got as good a chance as anybody to stay up here and be number one at the end of the season. But at the same time, when you got guys like Colin and Drew, Justin, and others showing up, it's anybody's race. So I wouldn't say there's pressure, so to speak, but it definitely crosses my mind every now and then that we're in a pretty good spot.
Well, you certainly have stepped it up and have proven that the top 3 that finished here tonight are certainly the top 3 moving forward. Austin, before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout outs.
Yeah, I want to thank Demon Decals, Show Me Restoration, DCS Underground, Skipping Suns Heating and Air, 76 Customs, McConey Setup Shop, Jeff, you guys for putting this thing on, Justin and Drew for hosting this thing, and tonight was actually pretty special. Shout out to my dad. He tagged along tonight. He was crew chiefing for me. Was right by my side through the whole way, so shout out to him.
That's awesome to have family hopping on board and helping out. Austin, congratulations on 3rd here this evening. Enjoy it, and good luck next week at Pocono.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
As that will be our top 3. Austin Mees coming away with 3rd here tonight. To bring up our unofficial results, certainly a lot of ups and downs for some drivers, and a few excited that we're out of here. As this is our one and only road course of the season, and taking the top spot, proving it can win any style of racetrack. It's Colin Clary that will take the victory for the 7. Drew Blaze will take 2nd. 3rd goes to Awesome Mees. Chris Klein, another driver who ripped his way through most of the field in early going, he'll take 4th, with Mike Fahey in 5th. Harold Crow falls out of the top 5. Will take 6th position here tonight. Not a bad spot for himself. Probably the funnest battles to watch. 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. And that's where we find Nicholas Danfrancesco, as well as Alex Duchesne, Justin Johnson, and Corbin Reich. But Zach, there certainly were a lot of drivers outside of the top 10 that probably felt like they should have gotten top 10s, if not better finishes this evening.
Definitely some notable ones for sure. You gotta give a shout out to 12th place man Austin Gruel. It started out rough for him in that 94. He kept fighting. Same for Boomer Shine. Those two were like at the very back of the order for most of this race, and they come in 12th and 13th. And then, of course, the guy in 14th, Greg Watching the Sky, brand new debut here tonight, was going great, running top 2, top 3. Got caught up in that incident there off of 6 and wrecked, unfortunately, and took himself out the race. Jordan Max is going to come in top 15 there for the 37 machine. And as you look at the last group of 5 here, these drivers having some tough nights there. For Chris Lawrence, the 4th place man in points, and Alan Swan in that 85 and 18th. He had a few rough rides here tonight, as the finishing order is definitely, I think a few drivers there at the end are going to be looking forward to Pocono being the next race. Even though it's the tricky triangle, they're going to be hoping, they're going to be glad that they're away from some right-hand turns.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys are excited to get to more what they're used to. The tricky triangle, always a track that can bring out the best and also can bring out the worst of some drivers. We'll see what they can bring out for us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting next week. But for us, thanks so much for joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We're excited. Pocono next week. Don't want to miss it. Monday night, Lonestar NASCAR iRacing Series presented by DadBod's TikTok Studio. But for us up at the booth, for myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall, and for Robert Moyer Jr., thank you so much for joining with us and spending your Monday evening here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. If you enjoyed also some of the new fun graphics that we've been bringing out, we've doing a little bit new branding here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. If you've enjoyed it, if you're watching back, put in the comments, what do you think about some of the new graphics that we have for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting and some of the other fun stuff that we have lined up to bring out in the future. We're excited for it, but again, tonight, thank you for joining with us, going left and right from Watkins Glen. Congratulations to Colin Clary for grabbing his 4th win of the season here, and cannot wait to see how does he make the charge to try to take back the points lead, or will Austin Meese, Drew Blaze, will they hold strong, or could someone else sneak their way into the title contention? We'll find out next week as we continue on in the schedule, heading to the tricky triangle of Pocono for our next Freaky Fast broadcast.
I was standing, staying still, never said what I feel. And every time I took the blame, carried all this quiet shame. Cause all the pressure in my chest, I've gotta fight to catch my breath. When every step still feels the same, trying not to break. Where do I go from here? Maybe I'll disappear. If I don't try, I'll never know. I'm waiting on you. Where do I go from here? There will be no more tears. Kill the doubt, feed the fire, hear the voice inside. Not giving up, it's my turn this time. They took a shot, now I want mine. You fall, I rise, I take the wheel. So this is how it feels. Where do I go from here?